What's up, people? I'm Shaggy the Opinionated Hippie, continuing my deep dive into Frank Zappa's Winter 76 tour. Two more shows today, despite my goal to have all four Japan shows. Only got around to listening to two. The first two, February 1st, 1976, February 3rd, 1976, Tokyo, and then Osaka. Osaka being the show from which we get the edited version of the Black Napkins solo from Zoodalures. That is from Osaka. That is a perfect 4 minutes of music. This is a perfect 11 minutes of music. We get these Hands from a Hammer, Zoodalures intro, not the solo, combo from stage 3. For some reason, we cut into an 82 solo. Did not need to do that on that stage 3, Zoodalures. And then Ship Ahoy off Shut Up and Play Your Guitar is also from the February 3rd show. So fantastic stuff in there. Both absolutely fantastic shows. One of them, unfortunately, the February 1st show, has some really rough sound. You can hear the songs, you know what songs they're playing, but it's kind of not fun to listen to. The solos come through a little bit clearer, and the solos are pretty fantastic. Frank is delivering the goods on this tour as far as solos go. Unfortunately, the sound is pretty bad. February 3rd, sound is maybe the best sound we've had on tour so far, other than the FC Aussie show, which was the opening show. But the playing on that show is just not as good as it is on this show. So that February 3rd show is pretty absolutely special. But by this point in the tour, we are pretty much getting the exact same set list with changes in the encores every night. That is the set list. And the great thing about this set list is we are getting a whole bunch of solos. Stinkfoot, sort of the tone setting solo. Dirty Love, a quick burst. Filthy Habits, by this point in the tour, a bona fide classic. Black Napkins, bona fide classic. Advanced Romance. I'm going to argue this is the apex mountain for Advanced Romance. It is this tour that gives us the best consistent version of that, I would argue. Frank solos, amazing, aggressive, bluesy, fun. Illinois Anima Bandit. Kind of all over the place as far as trying to figure out what to do in this solo section, but a good time. Torture Never Stops. Kind of all over the place trying to figure out what to do in this solo section, but a good time. Zoodalures, just the exploratory spot, the spot where he kind of tries to figure things out. He brings things calm. The sort of rhythm section lays low for a while, 2 or 3 minutes, while Frank can just like go all over the place, and then we build into something epic. Then we get Ship Ahoy, which is a own different guitar solo. Then we have the Miss Pinky Jam, which has a guitar solo at the end. Then we get to the encore. Sometimes we might get an I'm the Slime solo, something else in there, maybe a Muffin Man. But that's what we're getting. Maybe a San Bernardino has a little solo in there. But that's what we're getting so far. And so, yeah. So even when the sound is bad, you know what to go for. If you can hear the solos, you go to these songs and you check out the solos. Because for the most part, everything else is exactly the same. So February 1st, we do get some singing from the bass player during the early Naval Inca intro. The Stinkfoot solo, pretty good. We have some vamping in here when it looks like there might be technical problems, when the band is just kind of killing time. Nice, tasty, melodic solo, setting up for a good show. Frank's engaged. Frank's ready to play. Dirty Love delivers a short burst. Filthy Habits. We have a sax solo this time around. I think it's the last one. I think Andre comes back in the next show. The sound is pretty rough. It's kind of a rough listen, though you know the sax is there. Frank comes in a little bit louder. He's a little more menacing. He's flirting with that VCF energy that he would explore in Ship Ahoy. Really, really nice. Even with the bad sound, this is a fantastic Filthy Habits solo. Probably the best of the tour so far. We get the Freak Out medley, which, when the sound is rough, it's kind of a hard listen. And as I discovered on the next show, even when the sound is good, by this point, it's kind of becoming a rough listen. He was doing a We're Only In It for the Money medley earlier on. Should have kept that one. That one was fantastic. I just think he picked the wrong Freak Out songs. It's essentially, how could I be such a fool? Ain't got no heart, and I'm not satisfied. I love I'm Not Satisfied. I could hear that at every show. The other two, not doing much for me at this point. Black Napkins, fantastic. Lewis solo, I believe this is the last Lewis solo in this. Or at least Nappy does get a solo in the next one, and it's just Nappy and Frank. But I think going on, it's just Napoleon gets a sax, Frank gets his solo. Frank's is great, really drawn out, some really tasty moments, but it's one of those, this Black Napkin solo, as far as Frank goes, feels like one of those where he's trying to find an idea to write and never really finds the right idea. So it doesn't have this like narrative thread from start to finish, but nonetheless, all of the little pockets of exploration are still pretty good. We're kind of building towards that intensity that we would have by the next show, but by the next show we get like perfection. So, but we're not quite there yet. Advanced Romance, Frank's rhythm, because of the nature of the sound of this recording, Frank's rhythm guitar playing is like louder than the actual synth solo that Andre drops. That's actually pretty interesting because we don't always get to hear Frank's rhythm. So even though the sound is kind of rough, it's interesting what we have here. Anyways, Frank has a super aggressive solo, kind of aggressive, then kind of plateaus out and just stays in attack mode, kind of goes into a slight boogie jam towards the end. Just a really good, aggressive, fun Advanced Romance solo. We get Honey, Illinois, Enema Bandit. Really, really nice. Another aggressive solo that's just marred by pretty bad sound. It seems like this is a really high energy, intense solo, but it's kind of hard to listen to. Things are just kind of blurring together. No audience participation and wind up working in a gas station. We've dropped the show me your thumb part. Thank you, Frank. We don't need that. Trying to Grow. Torture. The whole song seems way more confident than it had on that sort of previous Australian leg. I don't know. The little break between Australia and Japan, they're coming in a little more confident. There's a lot of vocal stuff going on. The solo, there's not much to it. It's just fun. But overall, there's just something a little more about this Torture Never Stops. Chunga's Revenge. Sax is really hard to hear, but you know there's a lot going on. Napoleon's got all the effects going. Like, it just sounds insane at times. Bass player comes in and does his weird stuff. There's some weird, almost monster song weirdness in here where the bass player's singing and playing bass, and Andre Lewis is dropping synth stuff, and Frank's doing weird stuff on rhythm guitar. Then Lewis takes over for his solo. Then we get Bozio's solo. Then we get Zoodalores, and it's just an awesome Zoodalores. The guitar solo itself is just absolutely amazing. He's just got some weird like Tamershi Deween-esque runs in there. He's really playful. He's really aggressive. This eventually drops into Ship Ahoy, which is, despite kind of almost sounding the same every time, every Ship Ahoy really has a different vibe to it and a different flavor. And this one just has the aggression and the sort of focus that the rest of the show has. Just doesn't sound all that great. Then we go into the Miss Pinky Jam, which is great. We never should have added lyrics to this. Let's keep this like this. And then we just get Dynamo Hum as an encore. What I think is probably a fantastic show that's just rough to listen to because of the sound. Suggestion for ZFT, or one of my hopes, 76. We get a Japan box set from 76. We know stuff from 2.3 has been released. We know stuff from 2.5 has been released. Maybe we get a box set of Japan stuff. These shows that we don't have, but in better sound quality, that would be amazing. But then we get to February 3rd, 76, the best show so far on this tour. Spoiler alert, it's going to be number one on my rankings. The sound is great. The vibe is great. Frank's not doing a lot of talking compared to the other shows, but his guitar is, so pretty awesome. We get the Naval Inkle opening, the Stinkfoot, just an awesome, straightforward. He knows what he wants to do from start to finish. It feels like one composed solo. This is one of those shows, like there are Frank solos. Evil Prince off stage 4 is one of those. Carolina Hardcore Ecstasy off stage 4 is one of those. Torture Never Stops off stage 1 is one of those. Rat Tamago is one of those, where I've listened to those so many times that like it seems like every note is planned out and purposeful. Like Frank should play this solo this way every time. This is like a perfectly created solo. That's the way I feel about a lot of these solos. It just feels like every note was the perfect note and moves the guitar solo narrative story forward in the best way possible. Every single solo. And the Stinkfoot solo does that in the beginning and kind of, as I've always argued, sets up the tone for the rest of the solos and say, hey, this is what we're getting the rest of the night, people. Strap in. It's going to be a ride. Not a wasted note. It's one of those where you're like, oh, None of those notes were wasted. Frank knew what he was doing. None of those were just like, let's fill time till we have another idea. Fantastic. Poodle Lecture seems rushed. Yay, can rush those as often as possible. Dirty Love, Bozio's drumming just sounds fantastic. Filthy Habits, absolutely amazing. Filthy Habits is fully formed at this point. It's menacing, it's threatening, it's just everything. Like the ending jam on here, when they go into the and things get all weird and kind of psyche, that's kind of almost been for the last couple shows the highlight of Filthy Habits. Like Frank's actual solo has been a little short, but when they go into that ending, things get really good. No, he's delivering a fully confident, committed, like purposeful, menacing solo in this. And this is after Andre gets to stretch out for quite a bit and set the bar like really high. This was one of those where I'm like, oh, Andre's probably going to take this one. And then Frank steps up and goes, no. I have figured this song out. I'm taking this one back. Absolutely amazing. Peak Filthy Habits. Get the Freak Out medley even with the great sound. It's really just I'm not satisfied. At this point that I'm still vibing with. Black Napkins, Napoleon gets his first ever solo in here. He opens up. It's kind of jarring because this is where the Zoodalures is from. And in Zoodalures, it's the really awesome played theme. Then we cut into like midway through the solo. And then we have the closing. Here we have the awesome theme. And then we drop into a Napoleon solo. And it's just kind of like you're expecting Frank to go, Janana. You're expecting to just jump into that solo. But instead, you're like, oh, it's Napoleon. Takes Napoleon a little while to kind of get his groove and figure this one out. He hasn't been soloing in this one yet. But ultimately, Napoleon steps up, delivers a good solo. And then we get Frank's full version of the Black Napkins Zoodalure solo. We get the quiet opening, the build up. And like at one point, like we're gathering steam and like things are going, you're like, oh, wait, we're in the Zoodalures version now. And you're just like, okay, now it's just heaven. It's just perfection. Bozio's drumming, Frank's playing, everything about this version. It's why Black Napkins is Black Napkins. It's why it's like for me, maybe the iconic guitar solo song for Frank. And yeah, he just drops perfection here. And the band's right there with him. Like he has figured Filthy Habits out. He's completely figured Black Napkins out now. This is a moment. Amazing. Advanced Romance, Andre, awesome, does fantastic. Frank has to come in hard because Andre has set the bar so high. He drops in, I think, either some of that VCF stuff or some heavy distorted wah action. Frank's solo is getting pretty weird. Great Advanced Romance. We get a Honey, Illinois Enema Bandit, 2.5 minute intro. He is talking a little bit too much here. And then his solo, again, it's just fantastic. He quotes some other melody in the middle of the solo that I want to sing along to, but I can never quite place what it is. But if you've listened to the Advanced Romance or the Illinois Enema Bandit, he quotes something in here, right? What does he quote? Do you know? Pretty sure he does. And then he just kind of just picks up some momentum and he's just kind of going and going. There's swag in here. There's great energy in here. The Illinois Enema Bandit. This is one where he's like, I don't think he's quite figured out this one yet because this one goes so many different places. It's like almost he's never really happy with what Illinois Enema Bandit is. He's always tinkering with that solo vamp. But this is one of those where you're like, oh yeah, but this is good. He kind of has figured it out. He's just never going to be happy with this one. Wind up, no audience participation again. Yay. Trying to Grow Chin sounds really loud and really aggressive. Just the performance, the energy. It's just like, but awesome. Torture Never Stops. Frank set in the mood early. There's a lot of like tasty runs and chords that he's playing as we're getting into the beginning of the song. Like he's very active throughout the entire song, which adds some really good flavor. The solo just kind of stomps in, slow confidence, kind of menacing. Like this is the Torture Never Stops cousin version to Filthy Habits. So if Filthy Habits is like they're cousins, maybe they're brothers. And Filthy Habits is its deviancy is more with like poodles and things like that, and Dirty Love. And this brother's deviancy is with like torture. But they both have this sort of malevolent drive about them. This is what a torture solo should be. We're still not quite to torture apex. That would come in winter 78. But we're kind of figuring out, and this I think is by far the most confident, the most interesting, the best Torture we have so far. There's almost a couple times where it sounds like he's like playing the opening riff to go back into the second half of the song, where it's like, then he solos some more. You're like, oh no, we're not going back into it. Like even Frank's a little more playful with this one. Really, really good. Just absolutely amazing. And then when he comes back in, he's still got a lot of stuff to say. So, and then there's a lot of weird vocal stuff that now we're getting a really good sound quality version of Torture that really is jumping out, doing little weird vocal breakdowns and taking advantage of the vocal prowess of his band or the vocal idiosyncrasies of his band, bass player mainly. Then we get Chunga's Revenge, really super trippy, weird, spacey, out there, chaotic Napoleon Murphy Brock sax solo. Long and psych and hypnotic and just kind of goes on and on and on and just becomes this drone of just awesome noise. Then this gives way to the drums bass hypnotic trance vibe. We get, oh no, I was missing this. Oh no, we're talking about Chungus, yeah. Then we get that weird kind of monster section where the bass player's making noises. We got a solo and Andre's making noises and Frank's doing weird rhythm stuff. Things get kind of chaotic. Then Lewis gets his solo with some really busy rhythm from Frank. That is fantastic. Then we get Hands with the Hammer. Then we get the Head of Zoot Allures from stage 3. We should have got the solo because the solo is fantastic. It's like 4 minutes, kind of calm, but super intense. We're still got that Stinkfoot thread where it all feels like it's one kind of narrative, like idea from start to finish, though this is by far more exploratory than other stuff. That's kind of what this space is for Frank. Things start to get intense. They get weird. They get exploratory, kind of indulgent, but at the same time, like the rest of the band is restrained. And even as Frank tries to push, like, push the energy levels, that the rest of the band kind of keeps it calm, as I think they're instructed to do. That leads us into Ship Ahoy, the Ship Ahoy from Shut Up and Play Your Guitar. The drums in this mix and this audience tape, I think, sound better, make this song sound better. The drums are a little more up front. Drums are already amazing. They just now sound better. And then we get Ship Ahoy. We get the closing. I think it just ends with Ship Ahoy. Do we get a Miss Pinky Jam on this one? I'm not sure we get a Miss Pinky Jam on this one. It's not in my notes. Did I not hear a Miss Pinky Jam? Wow. Who knows? I'll have to go back and check on that. Then for an encore, we get an I'm the Slime, San Bernardino. And the I'm the Slime sounds like I'm the Slime. Yeah, it's pretty awesome. We get what sounds like I'm the Slime. So, yeah. Really, really good. An absolutely fantastic show. We know they have this in the vaults because a bunch of stuff has been released. I would argue for the release of the complete show, even though we already have Ship Ahoy. That's really the only thing that's duplicated, because the Black Napkins, we would get the full version of Black Napkins, and why would we not want the full version of Black Napkins? But yeah, absolutely fantastic show. If I had to rank these two shows, regardless of whether or not they played Miss Pinky in that second show, it's not in my notes. Did they not do that? Did they just end it? Why do I not remember that? All right. Anyways, I don't know. This is how I'd rank them. Yeah, that 376 show, number one. And then mainly because of the sound, the solos are fantastic, but the sound is rough. That February 1st show drops down to number 5. So yeah, that's what I got. 2 more Japan shows for next week, and then we'll move on to the European leg of this tour and trying to assess whether this is truly better than Winter 77, the one I just did. If we get more shows like this, that answer is going to be, I was right the first time. It is. But we're going to withhold judgment until we're done. The MVP so far of this, not even sure anymore. Black Napkins is stepping up its game again, though I gave the MVP to Black Napkins for Winter 77. Andre Lewis is still up there. The Zoot Allure Ship Ahoy is still up there. Yeah, Frank is ineligible. He's running the show. So anyways, I'm rambling. Let me your thoughts on this. Thanks for watching. Subscribe, like, share, comment. That's all I got. Peace. And the tape cuts right after the Ship Ahoy studio version, the one we have released, or not the studio version, the album version ends. We don't get a Miss Pinky. There might be, but it's not on the tape. All right. Thanks. Talk to you later.